By now, a lot of us know the basic skills needed for road cycling, and they've got us a long way in being a proficient bike rider. But what happens when we take those skills indoors to, say, a velodrome? Do they transfer over? Or do we need to start from scratch? It's fair to say that things are a little bit different on the track, hey Conor?
Yeah, and that is why we've come to Newport Velodrome here in Wales to talk you through some essential skills you need to know to ride on the track and what to look out for. Should we get started, Manon?
Let's go.
Let's do it.
Riding in a bunch on the road is quite a bit different to riding in a bunch on the track. Being in close proximity with other riders and not having any brakes, that can be a little bit scary. But if you're wanting to track race and ride in bunch races, then that is a skill you're going to need to work on. Now, if you're just starting out, you don't need to chuck yourself into a bunch of 20 riders and just stick yourself in the middle. You can build up. There are lots of simple things you can do to improve your bunch riding skills. The first one is a simple one, just simply riding behind a rider on the track. You can start off with maybe leaving a bike length in between you and the rider in front, and then as you got more confident, you can close that gap to a wheel length and half a wheel, and then just get as close as you can, but without hitting that wheel in front. After that, you're going to need a willing friend to help you out that's willing to get involved in a little bit of argy-bargy. So this doesn't have to be done on the track, this can be done on the safety zone on the bottom of the track, where you'll just ride side by side, bit of elbow in each other, bit of shouldering, maybe get headbutt in there too, and just get confident coming in contact with other riders. You can then start doing that on the track, just riding as close as you can to other riders, and that's going to really help build your confidence on the bike to when it comes to riding in a bunch.
Track standing is a great skill to have, not only if you plan on riding the track, but also for out riding on the road as well. You may well have seen riders doing on the television, or you may well have tried yourself at a set of traffic lights. But track standing is the art of balancing on your bike in a static position without pedaling and without having your feet in contact with the ground. In track racing, you'll find the sprinters using track stands to try to gain an advantage over their competitors. They'll try to do a track stand and remain static in order to force their competitor to go past them and give them the advantage of sitting behind to gain an aerodynamic edge over their competition. A track stand is a good, fun skill to learn, and once you feel like you've progressed and developed a track stand on the flat surface, that's when you can come onto the track and try and master it even further. And if you are going to do that, either the back straight or the home straight are going to be the ideal places to start. You wouldn't want to be up in the steep bankings. And it's about coming to a controlled slow stop, and you would want your bike in this position here, handlebars turned slightly into the banking, and your left crank at a similar angle to where the down tube sits. This will give you a good starting position to then rock the bike back and forth very carefully and slowly to try and find that balance point. Now, if you are going to practice a track stand up on the actual track, the most important thing to do is to check with the track coach to make sure it's safe to do so, and also make sure you're never doing it if there's going to be other riders using the track at the same time. You certainly don't want to cause a crash.
Cadence is an important part to track cycling, and it's going to feel a little bit different to when you're out on the road, especially when you try it for the first time. If you're in a group scenario, a bunch riding on the track, your cadence can really change depending on the pace of the group. So it can jump from 50 to 60 RPM all the way up to 130 RPM, which is absolutely rapid, and it will feel a little bit strange at first, which is why it's important to choose the optimal gearing ratio. So if your gear is too big, you'll find yourself not really able to get on top of that gear that well. And if it's too small, you'll be spinning out too much and you won't be able to access those faster speeds. So choosing the right gear before you get on the velodrome is really key. If you want to do a few cadence sessions before you come to the track, there's a good session I like to do, 4 minutes out on the road. Start off at 95 revs per minute, and every 30 seconds, up your cadence by 5 revs a minute until you get to 130 revs per minute, and then you'll be spinning your gear. But it's a good way of getting your legs used to that feeling, that sensation when you do come and hit those boards on the velodrome. Oh, and I forgot to mention, track bike, your gear is fixed, so don't pedal backwards. You'll get a nasty shock. Try and relax, pedal smoothly. If you want to slow down, relax the legs. Never just forget your gear is fixed and pedal backwards. When I first came to a velodrome, I couldn't believe how steep the banking is. I mean, when you come to this position on the track, it really is a sight to behold. Often around 40 degrees, so you get the picture. It's steep, it's like a wall, but don't be put off because there's plenty of drills you can do to get used to riding on the banking. Starting off, you want to get used to just riding on the black line, then progress up to the red and then the blue, slowly gaining your confidence step by step. At first it will feel a little bit weird, but as you get used to it, riding on that blue will be no trouble at all. The banking is a great way to gain free speed in a track event, and you often see the sprinters riding on the very top of the banking when they're building themselves up for a flying lap, and they drop down the banking and you really feel that acceleration as you come back down and launch yourself for a flying lap. Also, you can slow yourself down as you come up the banking, so that's a great way to change turns when you're in a group. So you'd come along the banking here, swing up to the blue line, that would slow yourself down, then drop back down to the back of the line. Brilliant way to change turns and swap that effort on the front of a group.
Standing at the saddle on a road bike is very different to standing at the saddle on a track bike. For starters, you can't freewheel. On a track bike, you have a fixed gear, so if you did freewheel, your bike will end up bucking you over and you'll probably end up crashing. So when you do come to stand at the saddle on a track bike, you need to be nice and smooth on the pedals and don't give in to that temptation of freewheeling. It can also be a little bit intimidating standing at the saddle on the steep bankings. So I would recommend starting off just standing at the saddle on the flat sections of the track, so on the home straight and on the back straight. So coming up to the back straight now, so I'm just going to stand at the saddle for the whole back straight, and as we hit the steep banking, I'm going to sit back down in the saddle. But as you get more confident in this, you'll be able to work your way into the banking, standing up bit by bit. And before you know it, you'll be able to do a whole lap out the saddle. But remember, like all skills, this does take practice.
So those are some essential skills you need to ride the velodrome.
Hope you enjoyed this video. If you have, please do give it a big thumbs up and consider subscribing to GCN. And while you're down there, let us know in the comments section what you think of track cycling.
Thanks for watching, everyone.
See ya.